Yo! Happy Friday, y'all. How you doing? Hope you're all staying healthy and inspired out there. Hoping to get up to some fun today. You guys have been typing. I'm going to catch up really quick. Zeep, welcome back. Paul, Springy, Maryland. It is gorgeous here. It has been like summer this week. I think that's basically what's happened. As we've just skipped directly to summer. Do not collect $200. Just enjoy summer. What's up, Ben? How you doing today, man? Are you on the rebound? Yeah, I bet spring in Maryland is pretty idyllic. Kind of like here. Saf, hello. Zev, hello. How are you, brother? What's up, Saf? A present in your inbox today. Free copy of Auto Things Tilt EQ. Nice, dude. Nice. You're in good with audio things, man. Greetings, Earthlings, says Eric. How are you, man? Hope you're well over there. Ricky's in the house. Happy Friday, Ricky. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Oh, dude, rough life, Will. Lazy morning, music all afternoon. Is it sunny there in NYC today? Heidi, welcome back. Happy Friday to you. Well, thank you, Ricky, and welcome to the family Zeep. And before you forget, while you're still tingling, boogie on over to the Discord and grab some free sounds. You can get in on the challenge this month as well. We will dip into it as a group next week. I don't know that I'm necessarily ready to play with my own sounds today. Maybe I'll play with them next week. I'll get in on these things every single month with you guys. And we'll up the ante as we get through the month. I'm sure we'll think of some fun ways to make this a bit more exciting. Anyway, if you're a sub and you've grabbed the free sounds, make something with them and then submit it to us. You've got a month to do it. At the end of each month, we're going to assess these things. And great things will happen to those who participate. Ooh, Will's got something for feedback today. Nice, nice, nice. How are the streams treating you, Will? Ben. Quote of the morning so far, right here, sliding in from Ben. Mountain Dew slaps. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Yeah, Saf, you got to show up and watch Will work his magic. Paulie, how are you, sir? Saf, dude, don't sleep on the fire, man. Don't feel bad. It's been, what, 2 days, and you haven't gone out and recorded the stuff yet? Don't even worry about it. By the way, how is your month off treating you right now? You're right in the middle of it. Are you feeling the creative juices kind of flowing a little more freely? Zamertz, welcome, brother. How are you? Oh, very sunny but super cold, huh? Pub visit canceled. Dude, Eric, why can't you just put on a big heavy coat or something? Then it's hard to lift the pint and yeah. Oh, Ben, no picking on us lowly logic guys, dude. Oh man. Just Shiro, yes, absolutely. Drop them in the chat if you've got links, and if you don't, you can hit the Discord and upload. Sit tight. Subs get priority. Logic or bust indeed. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know what's funny is that Logic has so many of the features that Ableton jumped out in front with that was like really unique to them. And I find that almost all of the Logic users I know don't actually use them. I think there's something to that. I think there's just a certain kind of pleasure derived from using each DAW. I think that's really what it comes down to. Overcast and rainy. Oh, that's okay. That's good for an afternoon of making music. Ricky, thanks again for the gifted sub this morning to Zeep. And Zeep, thanks again for being here. Paulie, yeah, dude. Audio Things is great, right? Oh, and Ricky, again, I missed that one. I missed the second one. Dude, you re-up subvids. Very nice. Very nice. You guys, Zach, subvids, is up to some really neat stuff off to the side. I'm excited for him and his creative partner right now. Wires is wonderful. Know the Easter egg? Paul, it must have been a very immersive and decent drone if you fell asleep to it. Oh man. Oh yeah, there's the excitement. Zeep just saw that. Well, I'm still catching up. He saw this minutes ago, I'm sure. This is great. Will is saying the streams have been really good, steadily growing. Some days music comes out, others it doesn't, but nice to share the process with whoever can deal with me. Yeah, that's right, dude. Thank you for being you and being so genuine. Yep, Saf, right there. You're putting words to what other people feel. To tell the truth, I don't even want to go back to work. I just want to get rolling with freelancing. Well, there you go. Oh, hey, okay. I've got a link here from Will. Samarit says, not too bad. I made the changes to my track, but they were too subtle. Need to be braver with them. Okay, so you guys know what I'm always talking about with the whole listen to your reverb before you actually apply it to your sound, and you know, the EQ plugins don't matter if you're just doing subtractive, only if you're doing additive, and just these things that I'm like constantly throwing out there. Another one is go too far and then back off, especially with like the more nuanced side of the spectrum of the psychoacoustic play that we enter into with our sounds. And the reason why I say go too far and then come back, because you don't know if you've actually gone far enough until you've gone too far with effects processing, right? Unless you get somewhere and you just find like you're super, super pleased and it couldn't possibly get any better and you don't even want to find out if it could. You know what I mean? But otherwise, just go too far and then pull that fader back or that knob back or whatever it is, because nothing's going to break. You know what I mean? And test some boundaries. The other thing I would say is that trust your freaking self. You know what I mean? Like you've gotten this far with an idea, you've put a track together, you've processed it, you've mixed it, you've done all these brilliant things. You put it in front of people and they love it, and they have a small suggestion or two. You just got to keep riding the wave, and at each turn, kind of allow that to reinforce your decision making and your confidence in your decision making, because you're making some really great stuff. So that's what I say. Just Joe's got a link here for a few hits for a publisher. Is this a link for feedback? Click the silver hubs while wires is playing. Subvids, I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, we're a rainy city too. Um, and it's just been, I don't even see a cloud today. Man. Yeah, just Shiro, you know what it is that we've become um um a bit codependent upon user interface of plugins with certain processing, I think. We used to have to use our ears, and therefore we had confidence in what we were hearing and what we were choosing to do after assessing what we've heard. But for plugins, and especially because the whole thing is running through a flippin' computer, and most people are feeling like they're being bested by the computer on most days, uh, the confidence isn't really at the fingertips for most people with all of that. It's really good just to know not the limits of plugins or like how to properly do something or whatever, but where you like what you like and how you get there. And man, it's a process. It's a process. Dude, I gotta say, Polly, you have the best responses to things. I'm still getting caught up. And I saw Paul's comment about asking if you knew the Easter egg, and you're like dying of excitement. You live for mystery no matter how small. That's awesome. Turn the effects up to 11. Exactly. Exactly. Put a limiter on first, right? Oh, man. Oh, 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 I got caught up enough in the chat to see that Nate is in the house and that it's done. Hop Legs audio has been delivered just in the nick of time. Hop Legs official is what, like 5 days out, I think, something like that, maybe, or close to it now. And Nate, congratulations, dude. All sounds and 10 songs are officially delivered. Congrats on finishing the Hop Legs, says Saf. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Dude, you should feel on top of the world right now. Buy yourself a beer from me. Dude, that's so great. Oh, and we've got something for feedback for Polly as well. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Very nice, very nice, very nice. All right, I'm going to make a small list over here because I need to keep track. There's already a few of you. So we've got Will, Polly, and I'm still learning how to spell apparently. And I do believe Just Chiro dropped something in here, right? Yes, yes, yes. Okay. All right. Let's start clicking on these things, huh? Oh, man. Good for you. Good for you, Nate. That's very awesome. Isn't that generous of me, Heidi? Oh, seriously though, Nate, we should seriously get on a call together soon and have a drink together. And cheers to you. Dude, Nate, I've got the feels for you, homie. That's great. Paul, Paulie, sometimes I lose my keys. It's such a thrill finding them. Oh, Mattoid, if you're here for feedback, you could drop a link in the chat and sit tight. Subs get priority. And we've got a small queue building up. It happens pretty quickly here. We've only been on for a few, but we've already got at least 4 here. So, oh, and Ricky is continuing. Will, welcome back, homie. Okay, sounds good, Will. All feedback welcome. Well, we're going to hit yours first. So, and Nate, anything that you want to send over to just soak up the love from people as we hear it, you just let me know. You just drop it. And Mattoid, I'll add you to the list. Hold your spot in the queue. And looks like we've also got one from Kat. All right. Masters by Iggy. Welcome back, dude. I'm doing all right. How are you? All right, I am officially caught up. You guys have been so busy right out the gates with chat lately. It's been taking me like 10 minutes just to get caught up. Y'all are flipping wonderful. All right, bean juice procured. We've settled in. Let's click on this first link. The first one we're hitting is Will. There you are. Midnight snack attack. I like that. right, Ricky? Ricky nails it right there, dude. Great selection of elements and execution. I didn't even type anything for 2 minutes. And then I just said, loving the palette. All right, so this is fantastic, of course. Straight Zev. Katie B, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. And I saw a link there for you as well, so we will get to that. You're a bit down the queue, but we will get to it. Stick around. So Will, dude, this is fantastic. It's a fantastic palette that you're working with. It really is. So around 220, that super wonky ARP that comes in, and it's the only time that it peekaboos in the entire mix, I would just A/B test having it kind of fray, like kind of pull itself apart or fall to pieces in some way as it progresses, because it's so just wonderful. I'm thinking maybe some extreme chorus. You know, get the rate to sync up with the vibe just right. So on the last little lilt of it, it just spreads out into nothing. Anyway, I think if you did something like that, where it just kind of fell to pieces, the overtones that it would create in that little mashup of frequencies that's happening in that specific moment, it would sound delicious. It would sound delicious. Around 4 minutes or so, when we kind of get, I don't know, it's maybe like 15 seconds or so of that one tom really clearly. It made me feel like it could use just a little bit more mid accent, right? Like the top part of the body. Because it's nice and it's a pretty decent part of the groove. You know what I mean? But it's kind of stuck in a pocket in some of the mix. So 545, dude. If there was ever a candidate for a surprise giant gated stutter on the entire freaking mix, it's that moment right there. It's just everything. It's like the stars align for it, my friend. I think you should at least try it. Come on, try it. 615 or so, the vocodish vocal effect that needs to be highlighted more. It needs to be. And that clap layer is amazing. I think you should add some variation to it. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but because you should draw more freaking attention to it. And the variation could be as simple as an EQ change. You know what I'm starting to think of this this little trick. I'm trying to think of how it goes, but you're a Logic user, so you'll absolutely love this. Okay, so it goes something like this. So you take your clap, you put it into a sampler, and then you put into a MIDI effects an arpeggiator. And on the arpeggiator, you're going to set up a pattern that's basically, let me think if I can remember this correctly. Yeah, you dial in the kind of shape that you want, but anyway, you're really only worrying about the velocity output of this, and then right after the arp, you're gonna put on a modifier. And then on this modifier, so it's now taking the velocity input from this ARP, and then you're going to reassign this. And you can play with what you reassign it to, but if you reassign it to just simply EQ or a pitch shift or something like that, anyway, what it's going to do is it's going to act like a modulator. You can also just straight take a modulator, get rid of the modifier, and just put some kind of cool pattern and then learn the destination of that same plugin parameter. The difference between doing it with the ARP first is that it becomes dynamic to the performance of the thing that it is affecting, which is a really dope little maneuver. And it will get ears on things. So for what it's worth, that might be a really good one to play around with. And other than that, this is just pure you. It's great. It's great. It's really, really good. This all came out this week. The Vox that you want highlighted is the one going every couple of bars now. Let me check. Push way back, and it's on the sides and it moves. There it is, way back there. There's some more of it. It's the vocodish formanty little thing that's floating around way back in there. So, man, people are loving this. And you know what? Before we go any further, I must make amends with Ben. We're gonna get this. Where's the Candy Mountain? There it is. Okay, we're gonna get this set right now. Add. I'm gonna add Charlie. And it's going to be from here for this. It'll be a command. It'll be Charlie. And it's going to be a loop. And we'll make it rock steady for 6. All right. Ben, would you like to do the honors? Go ahead and try it now. Now you can try it. Three vocal samples. The one that goes Is it working? Is it not working? I was looking at the chat for a second. Coffee for lunch. My man. Rain, how are you, dude? Pizza and beer. Pizza and beer. Is Charlie not working? Oh, Charlie is working. Wait a minute. Ben, are you subbed right now? You're subbed, right? Aren't you? Let's see. Oh, you know what? Ooh, and a lepopluridon. All right, we're going to add that really quick, and then we're going to get to Polly. Polly is up next for feedback. Anybody looking for feedback, drop a link in the chat. Subs get priority, so if you want to get a little bit more up in line, you can. Where am I going here? No GIFs found. I see. I think maybe perhaps we're just misspelling it. Leopluridon. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right, let's do Polly. Da, 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 da. Polly, 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 Polly. Where the hell is the link from? There it is. All right, here we go. Get your notepad ready. Good shot. Sushi Monsters, fantastic name. Thank you for the follow. And away we go, Polly. Yeah, Paulie. Yeah, I want to hear this very beginning again. All right, cool. So this has a really familiar feel to it. It's got kind of like this this kind of throwback feel, but it's also got this like it reminds me of a video game, like an epic one from back in the day. I can't put my finger on what it is, but it's got a nice, comfortable feel. I would consider adding a touch of movement to the delivery of the bass, right? So right now, as it stands, the attack and the sustain and the release phase of it are basically all identical. So you might want to add just a small curve of excitement to it, right? Like let's just get something visual here. It doesn't matter what synth you're using, but on the envelope that is controlling the LFO, maybe it looks something like this. And it's just going to give a little bit of love to the filter that bass is running through. And if you say filter, the bass is running through a filter, run the bass through a filter. And you really don't have to affect the overall sound of it, just the delivery, right? And you're just going to give it a little bit of love. So it kind of opens and closes just a little bit. And that its sustain portion of the envelope is just down a little bit from the peak, and that the peak has got just a little bit of hold on it before it comes down, right? So if this was with a traditional envelope, it's going to look a little something. It's going to look a little something like this, right? So it's kind of a classic ADSR kind of shape, and you stick that on a filter, right? And now you've got a little bit more of a fade out on the back end of it between notes. And I know that the notes are like really tight and close to each other, but the feel is really all that really matters here. And just this small amount of modulation, right? Instead of just straight on, it's got a little bit more attack, and it's got just a tiny little bend in the frequency attenuation up high. Which will help the transients stand out just a little bit. So when your notes are going like this, you get a bit more emphasis instead of just this kind of like momentary, almost kind of stutter or something when the note is triggered. It's actually going to feel like separate notes instead. All right, what's next on that list here? Those counterpoint keys could come up in general, I think, and be panned a little bit further out to the left, because right now they're just kind of tucked into the spot and it's fairly close to center. So it leaves me feeling like it's not loud enough. But really what it is that it could come up just a little bit. But if it was moved over a little bit from that busyness, it would just stand out and on its own a bit more. That horn synth could use a little beef, not like saturation or anything, but maybe just a tiny little EQ bump on that mid-low, and then spread the highs just a little bit and stick a parallel verb on it. Don't run reverb in series, because it'll kind of wash out the transient. And personally, I think I would make that intro fade a bit longer and stagger the different elements. So instead of bringing them all up quickly, stagger them, have something fade in over 4 bars, have something fade in over 2 bars. And at about 15 seconds, it feels just a little bit sparse as far as activity or change occurring in that little spot. So one of the elements from the intro could just start there, right? And then that whole part of that mix would be brand new. So you wouldn't feel like anything has been like growing stagnant or not moving, because you've actually introduced something entirely new. So a couple things that might be able to help. And thank you for letting us put ears on your stuff again. All right, so after Polly, now let's see what people are saying here. Anthony's in the house. What up, dude? How are you? Everybody welcome Cardiac Records. Paul says, don't snack after midnight. Ooh, Omosaurus. Javar, welcome to the mix, dude. That is a good one. Somebody find me a really good GIF. And we'll make it happen. Thanks again for the follow, Sushi. Paul wants to reso sweep the bass on that one. And just Jiro says, add a cab on that bass. You know, I would say, Polly, that something that might help in general. I'm just thinking about the fact that you've really been running at these wavetables. Um, I'm hearing these improvements in your mix from one upload to the next. What I'm thinking you might benefit from are processing sprints. And these are super fun. And in fact, if you guys have never done anything like this, do this for a little while. What this is it's not sound design per se, and it's not music production. Okay? It's just you're going to create an element. Okay? Maybe it's just a bass line. And what you're going to do is you're going to see how you can push the envelope with different types of processing that you would never normally do in your music, right? So in other words, if you make your basses in a synth and then you open up a distortion plugin or a bit crusher or whatever and process it and put it through a little bit of reverb or whatever and then go on your merry way, instead of doing that through a pedal or a plugin, instead this time do it through an amp modeling thing in your DAW, right? If you never play with chorus on your bass because you're worried about it ruining the low end, then practice splitting that signal up into three paths and treating them separately and putting the chorus on the middle of the highs and leaving the lows without any of that, and then just gently saturate the lows or whatever. But practice these little maneuvers a la carte. So you're not actually doing them in a mix, right? You're simply playing with possibilities and potentials of things that you don't normally lean into because of your music. And I guarantee you that you're not just going to find inspiration, but that you're going to find little tricks that are absolutely applicable to what you already do. There are so many ways to sweeten sounds and call attention to them and stuff. And having the confidence in yourself and like allowing yourself to play is so much more important than the technical stuff. Like if you haven't figured out all of the play, then you can't expect yourself to have figured out all of the technical stuff. Yeah, that's really all I got to say about that. Subvid says, I like to hear drums on this. Is Stubbs a plugin? I need Stubbs on the bass. Dude, Nate, welcome back, dude. Imposing an attitude. Paul makes an interesting point here, imposing an attitude, like adding some kind of to something. Um, Sometimes it's a matter of groove. Sometimes it's a matter of delivery. And sometimes it's a matter of processing or modulation. But the thing that comes, the attitude isn't a static disposition. It's something that changes over time, which is why it's an attitude, you know? Otherwise, we just say, like, oh, you got a funny face, right? Like, there's something that goes along with it. It's a dynamic situation. So moving those things around, you know what I mean? Bass through a phaser. This feels like a Law and Order scene. Dude, you just made Paulie's month right here. Because we just learned that he loves mystery. Just Jiro says you can add velocity control to the decay time so it gets a longer decay and program the velocities a bit more, and also on the filter. Absolutely. Yeah, just making things a bit more dynamic. Absolutely. Feedback request. This will be Cardio Party's next release. Not sure if you heard on Damien's stream or not. It's in final stage of production. Have about a week left to finish it. Not mixed yet. Yes, I will add you to the list. Absolutely. Okay, so we are through Paulie and Will. So next up is just Jiro, then Mattoid, then Kat, and I'm going to put Anthony in here. Nano is saying, yeah, sync license for sure, right? The squirrel. The squirrel is nuts. And what is up with the squirrel? Like, we've got to, do we have to kick that to the curb by doing something else? What is up with that squirrel? Chase it off with some unicorns. Tell you what, thing is staring at me. Nate, absolutely. We would love to hear what you've been up to. Give me a chance to get through a couple more of these, and then we'll queue up something. Maybe we'll sprinkle them throughout the stream today or something. Yeah, I feel your concern there, Paulie. F6031, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thanks for hanging with us. So the question was posed, vocals and rap over the top of it. And Paulie considered, lost vision, and then he just wasn't sure if it's hitting hard enough. And I would agree with that. I would agree with that. That's the mystery of how do you get it on Law and Order now, right? Nice one, Paul. Yeah, what is up with the squirrel? And did Wild trigger? Still figuring out the new digs. I don't see Wild. It must be buried underneath that squirrel. Get out of there, squirrel. What the hell's going on with that squirrel anyway? Maybe we'll have to take away that squirrel's nuts. Let's see here. Where's the squirrel? Come here, squirrel. Where the hell did you go? Oh, there you are. What's wrong with you? Name, trigger, playback, 6, top left, animations. Let's just do a, there we go. Maybe if we set a different trigger on it, it will work. Did it go away? The squirrel just don't care. The squirrel does what squirrel wants. The squirrel don't care. Foss, what up, dude? All right, let's try Wild again. It's probably my fault. I'm a drummer, you guys. Sometimes it takes me a little while to do things. Let's see here. Wild. Oh, there it is. Wild. Says it should work. Oh. Don't know why it's not. Well. Lurk away, my friend. I'm trying to figure out how to internet over here. Apparently. All right, Just Jiro. This is it. Let's find your link here. It's been a minute. So Just Jiro, I'm not seeing the link. Can you toss that up again? I think we've gotten to the point with the chat activity that we've just got to start getting all these saved or just switch over to the Discord or something. Yeah, I'm going to need Just Jiro and Matoid too. If you can toss your link back up as well, that would be great. Yeah, I am not seeing it. If you guys are going to be keeping the chat this busy all the time, I'm going to have to start giving the mods cookies to keep track of the links. Someone's got to find an Omosaurus GIF that we can use. All right, here we go. So this one is from Just Jiro. I don't know why I'm typing this. So I I would highly recommend making variations. These are really good. The reason why I say consider making variations because you're obviously looking at like a pack here, right? And I'm assuming that these are going to be uploaded to a licensing portfolio of some kind, right? So here's what I would suggest is I would flesh these out just a little bit more, stagger the layers and the rate at which they are being introduced. Okay, so these are really, really good for incredibly short form whoosh hits. Uh, but I would posit that there will be people that will want a 2 or 3 or 16 bar wind up before the impact. And what that does is it gives you more time to play with because more change over time is disclosed to the listener, which means you now have space to play. You can play with tremolos and build up some modulation right before the hit or whatever, which gets you a little bit more into the current cinematic trends than just this. And I say cinematic because you're obviously putting the effort into the layering and the psychoacoustics to make the impact more cinematic. So we're not looking at like a PowerPoint whoosh here, right? Um, so if that is the target audience, and you want to get the attention for these, then I would say flesh these out just a little bit more. And the benefit that comes along with that is an increase of price value perception for both you and your customers that find you. Okay, here's the other part of this equation. The odds of these three whooshes meeting the needs of everyone who clicks through to listen to them. Keep in mind, everyone that isn't putting stuff up in these portfolios, you don't know what a sound sounds like till you listen to it, right? You can look at a waveform, but you just don't know. So when people are looking for whooshes, whether a la carte or in bundles or packs, they listen to a lot of them before they make up their mind. Anyway, my point here is that when someone is going through and listening to all of these whooshes that people have available, when they come across one that has not just the ethos and the aesthetic that they're looking for, but it has varieties and not just, you know, key varieties from one to the next, like you played the same sound at 3 different octaves or something, but that there's actually like a staggered delivery difference and that there's a modulation difference and that there is an EQ mix difference. You know what I mean? And maybe in one of them, the impact is obscured or something. So you're just kind of increasing value through very little back end effort. You know what I mean? The hard part is building up a really high quality whoosh and impact, which I feel that you have done here. You know, they're unique. Now, the next thing is to figure out how to make them stand out from the rest. And the best way to do that in an oversaturated market, because whooshes are everywhere and there's lots and lots of free ones out there, right? So differentiation is the way to go. Low cost, high variation equals incredibly high value. And when you start making a few transactions like that, you can start to gain momentum in this. And then you can start asking your questions straight up to your customers. Like, what do you really need? First, you have to have the customers. This came from a pool table, by the way. Nice. Nice. That's awesome. These are not all the hits I'm going to do. It's just a work in progress folder. Oh, some more sound effects hits, ramp up stuff, trailer publisher. Yep. Yeah, Rise and Hit does a really good job. Absolutely. Especially if you start to hack it a bit and put your own sounds in there. So yeah, these incredibly short form ones are really good. I would take the same exact sound and process it a dozen different ways, and they will love you for it. If you're proactive and you're not just meeting deadlines, but you're over delivering, not just on content, like they ask you for 20 sounds, you give them 25, whatever, that everybody is doing that. But when you over deliver in original, innovative, creative juice, they will always come back for more. 100%. 100%. $0.15 or 50 cents, either way, it makes no sense. All right, next up is Mattoid. Mattoid, if you have not already done so, can you toss a link in the chat again? Oh, Zaris is in the house. One of my sample packs is available for free at the moment if anyone wants to grab it. Well, yeah. I'm going to click on this. Whoa. Well then, we're going to have to listen to this really quick. This is from Rick, so you know it's good. Crayon Brain. What's up, Ocean? Mattoid, drop a link. I'm going to do a couple needle drops since we've got a big queue working. And just Jiro, I just saw your comment. And yeah, dude, totally. I know exactly what you're saying. I've done this for decades, dude. Seriously. It's what I do. I hear you. I'm giving you really solid advice here. Trust me. All right, so good free new stuff from Rick. Go over to Ghost Hack and grab it. Link is in the chat. Oh, dude, Crayon Brain. Ocean won the sample challenge from the other day. Dude, you got the Vibes plugin as a prize. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, just Jiro, here's the thing. You are saying exactly what I'm trying to say to you. You're saying, oh, well, this is why these publishing companies want this stuff because everybody uses Rise and Hit and blah, blah, blah. That's exactly why I've made a living at this for years and years and years, and why you will too. All I'm saying is make variations. Make variations, because without the variations, It's all kind of the same. And the odds of that same kind of approach working for the masses is like 1%. But if you have a whole bunch of variety in one deliverable, now the odds of something in there being a match for the masses goes up drastically, right? You may be up at like 50% or even more. It depends on what kind of variations you put in there, right? Variety is the spice of life. And providing variety for your clients is precisely why they will continue to come back. Word. Awesome. You got an itchy finger, huh, Paul? All right, so next is Mattoid, and I'm not seeing a link dropped in here. So Mattoid, we're going to circle back. I'm going to leave you in this position in the queue. I'm going to double check again. But it says that you're here, so I'll sit tight and wait. Just Jiro, a lot of people. A lot of people. Bean juice is a necessity, Paulie. Absolutely. All right, so up next is Kat. Kat, are you still here? And Kat, can you drop a fresh link? Nice little jig there. All right, so nice, Ev. All right, and Anthony, you are up after Kat, so I'm going to click on you while I wait to see fresh links from Mattoid and Kat. And maybe we should just switch over to the Discord. Oh, Anthony, I need a shared link for this one. And I just read your notes, and no, I didn't catch it. I came back into the stream after your track had played over there on Damien's this morning. Oh, I'm cool with it wherever, Nate. I'll find it. We're going to click on that as soon as we listen to Anthony's here.
There is a drought in my mind. My thoughts are covered in the sand. I try to find a water source, a river or an ocean ghost. Who might help with what I seek? Can't believe it's so hard to think of one way out this heat. How will it end? I don't feel like I need to correct this absolute mess that I make with every single breath I take. It's still a drought in my mind, and the father's drowning me, alright. Completely blind. I pour my tears in a glass, watered my plans, and drank the rest, From drought to flood, so obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen. From drought to flood, so obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen. There's a drought in my mind. My thoughts are covered in the sand. I try to find a water source, a river or an ocean ghost. Who might help with what I see? Can't believe it's so hard to think of one way out. How is it? I pour my tears in the glass, pour all of my plans, and drink the rest, and drink the rest. From drought to flood, so obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen. Ooh. From drought to flood, so obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen. From drought to flood, so obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen. It is that drains my mind. Whatever makes me write these lines. It is that drains my mind. Whatever makes me write these lines.
This is great. This is a really good one. I would add, well, first, before I even get there, these vocals are fantastic. Good question, Justiro. I will circle back to that in just a sec. All right, so Anthony, I would add maybe just a touch of butter on the low mids for this vocal. It's so flippin' good. And when I say butter, I mean like subtle, super subtle low end saturation of it, and maybe with like a really like gentle LFO actually delivering it. Not trying to make like pseudo vibrato here or anything like that. I'm just like, there's just a touch of warmth at the very bottom of the body of the vocals that I wish was there at moments, and maybe something like that would be just perfect, especially if it was like maybe like a dotted quarter for the pace or something, and just a tiny little smidge. I think it would just feel so good. And just beyond that, especially at 45 and beyond, the lovely processing on the vocals entirely. I would accent that backing vocal just a touch more from 1 minute and beyond. There's a really nice call and response relationship here, and I think that it should definitely be above everything else. You know what I mean? And at 120, that shaker is like exactly what the groove needed. And consider a small amount of swing on it. And as with the touch of butter on the Vox, consider maybe even modulating that swing. And I know that sounds kind of weird to modulate swing, but you don't necessarily need to do it in a sinodal path. You can always just go with a pulse, right? And you can figure out what kind of width you want to put on that pulse. And so then it's like moving between two set positions, right? So like maybe one time through it's playing straight, and the next time through it's playing like 12% swung, like eighth notes or something, right? And then it's back, right? So you kind of get this almost like a super chill, laid back kind of shuffle effect to it, where the first 3 or 4 times people hear it, they'll probably wonder, like, did I actually hear that? Because it's such a subtle thing. Anything that you could do to draw attention to it without actually changing anything about it. You know what I mean? It's a perfect element in that groove. And at 145, this makes the whole track for me. The snare variations, like the amount of play that's happening here for your brilliant use of minimalism in general, is just lovely. Like you can feel that there's some passion here. Yeah. At 225, this is the only thing that really stood out in the entire mix to me as like, I'm not sure. And that's at 225. There's this small little whoosh. Let's see if we can find it really quick.
Drought to flood, so obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen. Ooh, ooh. From drought to flood, so obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen. From drought to flood.
It's over here on the right.
So obscene. That's my very own inner evergreen. That's my very own inner evergreen.
Right there. That's the one. It's got more low end to it than the one prior. And because it's shifted to the sides, it brings the pressure that feels okay in the middle when it's there, right? But when it's in the sides, it feels a little bit weird. So you might want to shave off just a little bit of the low there. Other than that, I really don't hear much to gripe about in this one, honestly. This is quite nice. Oh, nice. Liv did the production on this one. Awesome. Haven't mixed this one yet. A bit limited on the vocals. It's just one stem. Do you have any thoughts on the main snare? I like the 909 character it has, but I don't think it's strong enough. May need some hi-hats, but not sure. I think it's just a matter of mid-range accenting. You know, if you were to put, and you don't need an over the top here, you just need something, a multiband would be great. If you squeeze the middle of that just a little bit and accent it, I think it would sound nice. I think what you're looking for is a pop from it, right? That's kind of what I want from it, is like a certain kind of pop. And I think that would do it. And I wouldn't put too much emphasis on any one element in the mix other than the vocals, because the vocals are good and the minimalist nature of the track means that people will be able to leave this thing on repeat. And when they do, they're going to encounter happy discoveries. And that's what you want, right? Because it keeps them fully engaged as a participant instead of just passively listening to something as it goes by. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's nice to have these things sitting just a little under where you would have them maybe in other tracks, right? If there was a more aggressive nature to the groove or something, perhaps. But I kind of like level-wise and everything where that is. All right, let's see here. Where are we in this chat? Used to be a bass player. But if you're looking for some death metal, you can probably regain muscle memory. That's nice. That's a nice offer. Just Jiro is asking, what's the best tip to break into the sound design industry for trailer stuff? I do already write trailers, but I want to get more into doing sound design as well and license those as a side thing. And I would highly encourage you to do so. If you're already producing in the industry, and you even have the most minute interest in getting into the sound design side of it and selling stuff off a la carte or in massive libraries or simple sound packs or anywhere across the spectrum, all you have to start doing right now is go back in time, go into all of your projects and start harvesting. You have an endless trove of treasures. Your first job should be to go through and bounce everything out on its own. And this is not in an effort to sell all of those things. It's to try to get a handle on what your scope of work is, what kind of stuff you have to work with, because these are source sounds for you, right? If you really want to make a name for yourself in sound design, then your sound design needs to reign supreme. If you really want to make a name for yourself in trailer work, then your trailer work should reign supreme. You know what I mean? Yeah, you make the sounds for the trailers and they work well in that trailer. But for that thing to work well for the masses, that's the process. That's where you have to unpack your projects and figure out why they worked well in your projects. And you have to track sales and figure out why things are selling and why they may not be selling. And you have to track trends, right? Because not to see what is selling or what other people are finding success in, but quite the opposite. Don't chase the things that other people are doing. If you really want to know the best advice of how to break in and then break out, is stop trying to do the kind of stuff that other people are doing. It's so incredibly crucial. If you want your music to be heard and then played again by people, then it has to be different than what they're already hearing. Because if it's just the same, then there's no point. There's no point in hitting repeat or hitting back, because they're just going to move on to the next thing that kind of sounds like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, that's a real thing. That's a real, and it takes a long time for people to really fully digest that and accept it. And a lot of it comes down to imposter syndrome and confidence and all of these things. But you have all of this greatness dwelling within you. You just have to quite literally trust yourself and just start putting it out there. So finding a way to make the stuff that you've created truly unique and stand on its own without relying upon the other elements in that mix that made that trailer so great, right? Any riser will do in a massive epic trailer because there's so many massive epic elements to it. You know what I mean? We fill in so many gaps with our brains as listeners. But for a sound to really stand on its own as a hero, it's got to have some passion and some understanding in it. And it really is a process. That, and the other thing that I would mention is that a mentor is going to take you so much further than YouTube or forums or whatever. And, spending time in channels like this and having real conversations with people and just checking your ego at the door is probably 100 times more helpful than sharing links on Facebook or Instagram or anything that's not in real time, not face to face. You know what I mean? Yeah, just being in the moment, being really receptive, and then trying your darndest to just put yourself out there and be super, super vulnerable, right? By putting your stuff out there as you would do it, not as other people have found success in it. Well, if you're already a lovely human being, then you're already halfway there. The other half is just going to come from putting in the time. There's a certain level of patience that's required for this. And instead of calling it patience, I think it should be viewed as appreciation of what you're actually doing in the moment. Because the real truth of this business and any other business, and I've worked in successful positions in numerous industries, that is, you have to show up and you have to deliver and you have to be consistent and you have to be persistent. And when you do those things in that order, you will succeed and you will climb to the top of a pack. The question is, what is that hill? What is that pack that you're climbing to the top of? Right? You got to find it and you got to climb up it, and it's a little bit every single day. And you should be feeling right now, if you're really truly pouring everything in, you really should feel that every month or 2 or 3 months, when you look back at stuff that you've made a few months prior, you feel like you can do so much better right now than you did then, right? You shouldn't be at a point now where you're listening back and you're saying, God, that's just freaking awesome, right? You should be thinking to yourself, man, I could do better. If I had that over again, I know so many different tricks right now that could make that even better. Like, that's the kind of like day-to-day engagement that you need with your sounds. So here you go. Rain is saying, Space Bats is saying this. Stop copying one guy, steal from a dozen guys. Steal from one, you'll be the next Carol. Steal from a dozen, and everyone will praise your creative genius, and you're the next Big U. Hmm. See, now, um, it's going to take me a minute. Even though I'm seeing the words crayon brain, my brain is still saying ocean. Anyway, crayon brain is saying one of his favorite producers says this music is not original, but that it is unique. Oh, the Whittler. Yeah. Oh, and he's got a good channel here. Yeah, yeah, that's that ocean crayon. That's awesome. Yeah, that is the mindset, Just Zero. Like you should be learning constantly, and if you are, then you can maintain that headspace. And personally, I think it's a really healthy headspace as long as you don't dwell there, right? As long as you don't get hung up on, oh, that stuff is just, oh, that's why I'm not success. Oh, you know, keep everything super positive and just keep putting stuff out, and don't worry about what everyone else is doing, right? Because if you're not trying to chase them, then you're not trying to compete in an oversaturated space. People wake up every day looking to buy sounds. What they don't want to do is buy the same sounds they bought yesterday. Yeah, exactly. Just make things. Output, output, output. You know, get an idea, create, mix, bounce, repeat. Again and again and again and again and again and again and again. You can ask Saf. Saf sends me, he's been taking lessons from me for quite a while. He sends me, you know, a little pack of a few sounds and says, hey, what do you think about this? And I say, this is great. Now make 300 more and pick the 10 that you really, really like. You know what I mean? This is good. Ricky, man, on a roll today. Thank you so much, Ricky. One re-up to Space Bats. Woohoo! And Ricky's up to his same business. Muinozat? Muinozat? I'm not sure how to say this. My apologies. Picture a crown drawing on white paper and ocean waves, the output. Cool album cover, right? Oh, and thank you for the follow as well. I do appreciate it. All right. I'm still looking for fresh links from Mattoid and Kat. If you guys are tuning back in, I'll be happy to kick down some love. Otherwise, I am needing to go over here and click on a thing for Nate so we can hear everything that he's been up to. Whispers, Nate. Okay. I am going to download that. I'll take just 1 second, because Google Drive does what it wants. Speaking of MIDI effects, I was thinking that we should play with some weird MIDI effects stuff today. And maybe like some physical modeling or something. Let's do maybe some sculpture in here. Oh, I just saw that we downloaded. All right, you guys ready to hear what Nate has been up to? Hop Legs, the video game, is about to go live for general public within the week. Nate has just crossed the finish line today and delivered the final sounds and music for it. So the question is, what did he deliver? Let's check it. day and night versions for different spaces. Very nice. 27 elements in total. Background music, day 2. If you guys are unfamiliar with what hop leg is, hop leg, you can look it up on Steam, or you can go hit up Anderson Kev on Twitch and check out his channel. He's the game developer. Nate has been building the music and sounds. Nate is a former student as well, and a fantastic human. And brilliant composer, producer, sound designer. Go check his stuff out as well. If you're wondering what it takes to get a foot in the door with different things, he is currently working on getting his foot in the door in the game music industry. Paul, I'm not sure if I have wires. I'm not sure if I have it installed. I'll have to look through the stuff that they sent me. I love audio thing. They're great. Oh, and Nate is finally going to have my PogChamp emote for me. Yay! With my face. All right, final credits. Background music. All right, we'll check out night 2. Oops, sorry, that's my bad. So much pitch play, dude. Good for you. Take care, Space Bats. We'll see you on the flip, dude. Thanks for hanging. Lovely. Night 2, you say? I see why you like it. How nice is it that video games have gotten to the point where you can have these super wide mixes, huh? Even the cute cartoony ones, you know? Kat, no you did not. Please drop a fresh link in the chat and I will do it for you right now. Oh, and Matt. Matt, you are actually ahead of Kat by 1 in the queue. So Matt, please drop a fresh link in the chat. And Kat, you as well. And you guys are up next. We were holding tight for you. Kept your names on the list. Yeah, it's good stuff, Nate. That is good stuff. We're going to come back and listen to a couple more of those. Spread this out a bit. Yeah, just Jiro. You can. I'll put your name back on the list. Drop a link if you haven't already. Or if you have, just go ahead and drop it again. Drop it again. Keep them all in one spot here. This next one's from Matt. Matt Toyd, sorry. I want to hear that beginning again. All right. This thing's got some juice. Matoy, thank you so much for the submission here. This is a really solid track. My overarching question here is, at what state of the work in progress are we right now? It feels like you have either left a lot of space for something that just isn't there, or you're mixing with a lot more loudness and then you're switching that off for the bounce, for the whip bounce, or something. It seems like there's kind of this void in the middle, where some things are already at a level we would expect, and then the others simply aren't. And I'm just kind of wondering about the process. As far as the arrangement and the ideas, they're freaking great. They're absolutely great. You have a really nice arrangement here. There's some really original choices being made, and I think it's great. There's a bit of a mashup with concepts and stuff, which is great. Yeah, that your first twist around 1 minute really just kind of sets the stage for the whole thing. Like right out the gate. Your bass is pretty darn interesting. It's sharp, and everything that follows is just kind of right in line with it. I would say that you have such a great bass sound. The articulation is great. Your control of it is great. I would say that you could do more with it, right? Instead of the same types of modulations or the same filter all the way through, for instance, you could move to a multifunction filter, right? Where you can morph between like a low, a high, and a bandpass in the middle, right? And in a couple of spots in this mix, you could switch to that filter and put a really fun kind of offbeat LFO controlling that thing. Not like weird straight up rhythm or anything like that, but just to try to get different types of deliveries while maintaining the same articulation. Other than that, I think that the overall design of your instruments, your placement of them, your use of them is really, really good. Really, really good. There's this one peak that stands out at 115. I'm not sure what it was. I don't hear anything in the mix that stands out, and I know that SoundCloud isn't exactly trustworthy in their waveforms, but I'd be interested in knowing what that is that it's hearing or seeing there, because whatever it is, when you do get past the mix, this could absolutely trigger something in your global compression that you don't want it to. Oh, there's vocal incoming. Had a guitar in there as well, but didn't like it. Okay. I'm going to scroll up just a little bit and catch up with you guys here. Nate, you are welcome, dude. You are absolutely welcome. And big love to you too, homie. Very, very proud. Very proud. Take care, Nate. We'll see you on the flip, dude. Let's catch up soon in a call, huh? You can enjoy a cold beer together and cheers your success. Okay, so here's my thoughts about the state of the loudness mix in here, and it's good to know that you've taken out a guitar and that vocals are incoming, because that explains a lot of what I'm hearing. But the imbalance is still there. So here's what I'm hearing. Before you start increasing the loudness at the end of your mix, going into your master, how much compression is in play is kind of what I want to know. For sound design purposes, you've got to have quite a bit, right? But for mix purposes, how much is there? And then the other thing that I would ask is, are you currently working in a really solid gain management workflow, a volume management workflow? gain staging, whatever you want to call it. Because if you aren't, your music right here, this is a really, really good example of music that would truly benefit from a really solid gain staging workflow. You pick the one hero and you set that thing to where its max peak is set at like neg 6 or so dB, and everything else in the mix comes in under that. And then you maintain that very specific position through all of your gain knobs and all of your plugins as you're going through your thing. And then that way, when you get to the end of the mix, you're not resulting to turning down or something, right? There are some people that have gotten so used to the process of expanding sound to a certain loudness at the end of their workflows that they've kind of trained themselves to kind of identify the distance in loudness between the different elements in their mix that they're going to need. But largely speaking, you should be able to have a good volume mix before you get to that point. And there are elements in here which are just straight hard to assess, like their stereo position even, because of the loudness of other elements, and because those lesser elements are drastically lower in comparison. So there's a bit too much dynamic reach happening here between your heroes and your supporting elements in the mix. The distance between them doesn't need to be that great. But I would absolutely love to hear this with vocals, because vocals could fill up so much of this. You may have plans for these vocals that I'm just not privy to, so I can't really comprehend. Man, 230 over here. Such a lovely rate of decay, use of space there, very good. 345, really nice build. I would even consider starting the noticeable increase just a little bit further out and make it a solid minute of buildup, because you do a really nice job. But you can see here at this peak here in the waveform, and you can see kind of a steady progression. But it kind of stops here. And if you were just to go just a little bit further, like right after you get up, and fairly linear the entire way, it'd be really great. And I'm loving the original choices in the arrangement. I know I've already said that, but they're standing out. A really good use of building and releasing tension throughout your track as well. What kind of curry are you eating, Purple? Yeah, I'm not speaking about compression on the mix bus. I'm speaking about compression on the individual tracks in your project. Because this could be causing some of the discrepancy that we're hearing right now, right? Because what happens when compression is being applied when it doesn't need to be is you're artificially inflating the dynamic difference between elements. And it's honestly, it's going to do you a disservice unless you have to wrangle in peaks that are errant or excessive or whatever, or you need it for specific sound design purposes. You can pretty much straight leave compression off of everything, and then tend to that at the very end and see what you actually need to do, because compression really only has a couple of purposes, really, right? One is to tap down peaks that are too loud in the mix. Everything else is just fine. Two is to disclose more of the lesser heard elements, which is when you start adding gain back, right? And then three, when you use it as a creative effect, right? So, and that would include the volume attenuation to achieve the pumping, right? The sidechain effect, and it would include making these really kick-ass basses that you're playing with here. But all other use of compression, you can quite literally just leave that for the end. And you're probably going to be surprised at just how much like life force you feel in your music. And it won't feel like it's a big process to get to the the impressive accents and changes that you really, really desire in your music, right? Because every single time you put a compressor into play, you are decreasing the dynamic range, which means you're decreasing your opportunity to make a bigger impact with change over time, right? And that is what the listener is going to clue into more than anything else. A fancy sound is ear candy. Change over time is something that you tune into, right? It's something where anticipation and all of this kind of feeds in, right? Tension, all of these things. And that's what keeps people leaning in, and that's what you want. Adios, Crayon Brain. Butter Chicken Massacre. Oh, hey, now that's a good question. So what elements do you start earlier in the build? I personally would just stagger them. I would do it exactly like you're doing, but I would pick one of the elements and just straight up maybe even remove it from the beginning and halfway through that build add it. So all of a sudden there's like this little peekaboo of something new that people weren't expecting. Other than that, I would just change the rate of attack for a couple different elements. So they're staggered. So you can hear individual elements having a moment in the sun as they're coming up, right? And then I wouldn't make it completely linear. I would make it a concave build, but only a slight one. Nothing really, and don't give it a big whip at the end. And then you can seal the deal by putting in just like a 1 bar, probably just a 1 bar bright white riser where the only thing that's being done is a volume automation and a creamy Hall verb, right? And like everything cut out from 500 hertz and down. And what that'll do is it will accent the top of that concave arc and really just kind of give you that bridge between that long buildup and the excitement that's being reintroduced. Yeah, see, so that's exactly what I'm hearing, Matoy. So when you can hear compression and you were not applying it for an effect, then it's hurting the mix, like probably 100% of the time. Yeah, and this is one of those. Yeah, and see, now Ricky is chiming in. He says, this literally cut mixing time down so much after I realized this. And here's the other thing, is that there's a lot of things that seem counterintuitive when you move away from being just someone who makes music to someone who is responsible for mixing it and making it all sound good. Okay? One of those things is you've got to cut out a lot of bass to get a bigger bass. You know what I mean? You've got to cut out frequencies from every single element in your mix almost to get your sub and your kick and everything to shine through on their own, right? Well, this whole less is more concept is going to be found in almost every single box that you check in your workflows for mixing. And that includes compression. Okay? If what you're wanting is loudness from compression, then don't put a compressor on it. Wait. Because every single time that attenuation meter is hitting, it's hurting your sound in regards to loudness. So, all right, so Kat, you are up. You ready for this? All right, here we go. Is this already out? I just don't want the copyright hit here. Twitch is cracking down on this hard right now. Okay. So feedback on this. Great track. Great track. I would start off with the sub is too loud for the mix by at least 5 dB, maybe even more like 8. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this is just going to trigger the it's going to trigger the alarm on the streaming services. So this right here is being attenuated by SoundCloud, guarantee it, because they measure things in loudness and perceived loudness, and you measure that through LUFS. And if you're not familiar with LUFS, you probably already have a plugin in your DAW that will measure this for you. I have a multimeter on everything that I do, and I just track my frequencies, my stereo width, my phase, and the other thing that I'm constantly monitoring is the LUFS. And what you want to shoot for music like this, the sweet spot is going to be around probably -13 LUFS or so. Your decibels can still be hitting right up to 0, and you can still have just as much loudness as you're going to get from all of the streaming services. So people will still hear the same exact kind of loudness. The difference is that it's going to be genuine loudness. It's not going to be an overdriven sound that's been turned down. It's going to be a perfectly tuned sound that can be turned up. Right? This is at the crux of what people complain about all the time with the loudness wars. It's not about something being so loud. It's that you can't really turn it up. That's the only thing. So if you want people to be able to turn up your music, that's one thing that you can do right away to make that happen. Because then the streaming services aren't going to penalize you. And there's actually a website and a plugin by the same people. And you can drop a track right here, and it's going to tell you exactly how much your track will be turned down on the different popular streaming sites, right? And it's important to know because people don't like buy and download music anymore, right? They all listen to it streaming. So this is a really pertinent thing. Neg 14 LUFS. Yeah, that's a good mark. That's a good mark to shoot for. There are things in your mix that can go above that if there's dynamic range. Like if it's not just sitting there at -14 rock steady the entire time. Each platform is going to have a slightly different standard. So you're going to see a slightly different reduction in decibels. But what they're not telling you is that the decibels that they're reducing are on the LUFS side of the meter. That's not an equal exchange. The exchange rate between LUFS and decibels is not 1-to-1. So a reduction of 1 decibel in LUFS is not a reduction of 1 decibel, period. Because your 0 dB and my 0 dB are different, right? You can have a meter that says 0 dB and the LUFS could be really quiet. And so someone could really turn that up in a moment of excitement, right? But if it says 0 dB and your LUFS are way up at like -9 or -6 dB LUFS, then we've got a serious problem, right? Because it's already kind of hurting. You can't really enjoy all of the sounds in the mix when it's there. So big LUFS. Yes, big LUFS. So I would say that, oh, Polly, you're back. Welcome back. What'd you miss? Law and Order called. I'm just kidding. I'm not sure about Audacity and LUFS. We'd have to look that up. I really don't know. But yeah, just monitoring your stuff in loudness. And when you're seeing your stuff popping off around here, like let's blow this up so you can see this on the screen a little bit easier. I tend to reduce this for saving on space here. But your LUFS, like you can usually set like some kind of a par standard with like a little marker in here. So here's what you can do is when you're doing your mix, you pick your hero. In this one, it's obviously going to be the bass, right? So you're going to have that one set up at -6 dB, and its LUFS should probably not go above, say, neg at least 20 probably, because when it comes time for mastering, what you're going to do is you're going to use this remaining headspace. The headspace is the difference between 0 dB and wherever your peaks are. Okay, so you want a fair bit of headroom. And the reason why you want a fair bit of headroom before you send it out for mastering is because this is going to be brought up and this is going to be brought up. And they're going to be brought up to around this realm, right? It's going to be just under 0, and it's probably going to be around -12 or so for this type of music specifically. And if there is dynamic range in the track and you're following those rules or standards, then you're probably not going to be penalized by the streaming services. And I would probably personally shoot for something like a -15 to 13, somewhere in that range. For a track like this. I do believe the kids are saying slaps these days. No, I'm just kidding. That's where everything really pops the best. Big Luffs. Maybe we need a Big Luffs command. But does it slap? Yes, of course it slaps. So hopefully that helps you wrap your mind around that a bit. I really, really like the raw nature of it. It's a perfect blend of all of these lovely things and a really nice use of the stereo field too. Around 245, I would play with the idea. I know that this is an already released thing, but in future releases, I would play around with the idea of when you have a strong vocal sample like that, adding a longer fade curve to it, and it'll work as a nice little ramp up into it. And also, for future productions, around 310, those little synth blips that you have firing off toward the end there, those are perfect candidates to move around in the stereo field in real time, just through pan automation. And when you do that, you're drawing attention to it. You're not just freeing up competition in the mix. It has a function. It's good stuff. Very good. Thank you, Kate. Seriously, it was good. Can I review a track for a friend? Yeah, of course I can. Of course. So this one is from Just Jiro. Some more sounds. One sound. I want to listen through these again. Okay, so here's the feedback for you. These are good. My advice would be to make the overall power and impact felt in each element more dynamic, right? So introducing more separation. Everything's going to get glued together with compression. So I know what you're thinking. Why create more separation? It's so you can hear the individual elements in play. You have some really cool stuff in here. So what I would recommend is play around with the idea of panning, right? Your dynamic range is not solely exclusive to loudness. It's not solely exclusive to frequencies, and it's not solely exclusive to the stereo field. It's all of them combined. I would also check to see which things in your mix are being processed in serial and which things are being processed in parallel, right? There are a couple of elements in here that sound like they are being processed in serial, which means the reverb is directly on the element that's being processed. And if you were to A/B that with a parallel reverb instead, you might get more clarity and definition, okay? And the reason why that becomes important is because when overdrive and saturation are happening in a mix, whether it's artificially incorporated by us through a plugin or just loudness in the mix, whatever, things start to get a little muddled and blurry, if you will. But when there's reverb involved, then you start to have a bigger problem because those frequencies are moving much slower than their natural counterparts because of the rate of decay. Okay. So I would recommend taking a look at all of your reverbs that are on parallel channels and make sure that you have an EQ after every single one of them, and make sure that you're EQing out the lowest frequencies that are not necessary. And then the other thing is on the reverbs that are loaded in series on the individual elements in your tracks, make sure that you're using at the very least an internal filter or EQ on the reverb plugins. And with that will come greater clarity and separation, and then you don't have to do anything to your mix at all. It's just a wonder. It's just a wonder. It'll just bring in all the clarity that you've been wanting. The overdriving in the middle that I pointed out in number 2 and number 4, this being 2 and this being 4, can probably be fixed by that, by removing frequencies in the lower end of the reverb channels. Fantastic pitch mods in number 5. And this is the type of uniqueness that's really going to stand out to a buyer. Those are the types of change over time that will allow your stuff to stand out from the other folks, right? There are quite literally thousands of people producing all this stuff right now. So all you have to do is figure out tiny little embellishments like this one. When you hear this right from the beginning, it's solid. And as impressive as it is, there is also kind of a staticness to it. Let's say this thing runs for a total of 30 seconds, this last one, right? Which is shorter, probably like 15 seconds or something. Anyway, you could quite literally put a volume fade on the entire thing, take the beginning of it down. Well, maybe the first 1 second of it is up a bit. But then after that, it's quite literally building maybe a total of like 6 dB, 8 dB or something like that across the entirety of the thing. And in the very last like half measure, you get the added like 2 or 3 decibels, right, to really give that punch at the very end. And then also just moving things away from center when you're about to have a massive impact so your bass can just blast right out. It's these tiny little like nuances. And the reason why I bring up these nitpicky little nuance things is because that's kind of where you are in this process. Like your arrangement, the palette of sounds that you're working with, the ideas that you're playing with, they're very solid. You've obviously dissected what other people have found success in. So now it's about these tiny little nitpicky things, right? And each time you unlock just a little bit more of these nuances, your stuff is going to be better and better and better. And then before you know it, you're not going to be able to really distinguish between the quality of yours and the quality of those that you hold in the highest regards, right? Good old fluffy luffs. I like the little bunnies for the luffs. I like that. Rabbit luffs for Fluffy. Oh man. Fluffy luffs. Ooh, Black Adam. Yeah. Yeah. Just Jiro, it's almost like returning to the basics, right? Like once you climb all the way up this massive mountain, you realize like just how long it took to train to get to the top of the mountain, like all the work you had to do, the gear to survive to get to the top of the mountain, and like all of these things. And when you finally get to the top of the mountain, you know what you're appreciating the most? And it's the freaking simple things in life, like being able to catch your breath, and that the air is so much fresher, and that you can see really far, and that things are pretty. Like these are all like the basics, right? That's kind of where you are now in this process, is you've figured out how to load stuff into samplers and build nice arrangements and achieve fantastic cinematic power and all of these things. Now it's kind of time to return to the basics and figure out what are these little things that guys were doing in the studio 20 or 30 years ago, right? That drew your ears to things, you know? It's these tiny, tiny little things now. So when you're getting feedback from people and you hear these tiny little like nuancy, nitpicky things, absolutely take it as a compliment. Right? Don't feel like you're like missing the mark on something. These are when people start pointing out stuff like that, it's because there's nothing else to point at. Oh, Paul could not resist. Vibes is now his. Mwahaha. Yep. You know what? I really haven't made a darn thing today with you guys. We've spent this whole stream on you guys. This is great. All right, so this next one is Kate's friend. Let's check this. Hey, don't forget, if you are not currently subbed, hit the sub button. You get yourself your free sound pack this month. Every month you get free sounds and goodies and surprises and stuff here. Hit the Discord, grab the free pack. This month's is a bunch of Foley sounds. It's called Found Sounds for Beatmakers. And there's a monthly challenge taking place. There are no rules. There are no genre restrictions. It doesn't even have to be music. If it wants to be purely sound design, it can be. If it needs to be a film score, it can be. If it's a video game scene redesign, it can be. If it's a 3-minute track, it can be. If it's a 12-minute soundscape, it can be. And we reward those for who participate. All right, into this track.
This is a Fiend Club exclusive, bitch. If you get in mad, you're supposed to. You know, get this bag, and I don't know you. If you ain't this bag, you won't. Looking in the mirror, but I can tell what you go through. Damn, do I got it? What's on me? Let me coach you. Baby, it's a flag on the play. Let me hold you. Let me demonstrate, baby girl. Let me show you. Don't play stage, green off for you.
That's pretty good. I want to hear the intro again.
This is a Fiend Club exclusive, bitch. If you getting mad, you're supposed to. When you get this bag, then I don't know you. If you ain't this bag, I won't. Looking in the mirror, but I can tell what you go through. Damn, do I got it with on me? Let me coach.
Okay, so feedback on this one, and this for Irvin. I think the main vocal needs some mid accenting. So quite literally multiband compression. You really don't need to worry about the tops or the bottom of the vocals, but the mids need to be accented. So that's where you can kind of squish, kind of compress them just a little bit and add some gain back, and it'll brighten up the vocals and have them cut through the mix a bit better. The other thing I would do is make sure that whenever that kick is hitting, that the other things in the mix are ducking, because it's a big badass bass. I would make sure that there is a cut on that. If there isn't already, make sure that there's a cut on that sub, because it does feel like it's a bit of an energy suck down there, because it takes more energy for your speakers, your headphones, whatever, to reproduce those waveforms, which means that power is simply not accessible and available for the other frequencies, right? So whatever kind of cut you can add on a sound like that is going to help. So I would quite literally roll this up and put a fairly tight dB per octave cut on it like this. And if Irvin is putting on a cut that's like 48 dB and it's like right at 30 or whatever, that's fine, unless there's some kind of resonant peak down there. And if there is, take it off. Take it off, because this thing is going to get maximized in the mastering process, and it's going to be too dominant. It's going to throw off the processing of the other global processes that are being put on it. Let's see here. In general, some variety can be added to the mix. The arrangement is solid and quite standard, so I would spice it up through some clever ninja maneuvers. And those, like what those ninja maneuvers are, obviously are entirely up to the creator. But I would say that if you were to use a really simple tool like Shaper Box or something like that, that you can quickly remix things in a matter of seconds. And that is the kind of thing that you want to do with this track, because you don't, it doesn't sound like the kind of track that Irvin is going to go back into and make massive changes to the arrangement manually. This right here, you're talking like, what if you just reversed everything in the beat for half a bar in one spot? And in another spot, what if there was just a little gated stutter of like 30-second triplet notes or something like that for one beat or something, right? Just tiny little embellishments, quick little filter mods, right? Like just fading out from all the lows all the way up into the highs on one element in the mix, just because, and maybe it takes 2 bars to get through it or whatever, and then bam, it's all the way back. It just tiny little clever ninja maneuvers to help spice this up without actually changing, the integrity of what's been put there. And there's going to be someone that picks this up and puts vocals over the top of it, and you don't want it to be too complex. But just a little bit of play, I think, is what this thing could use the most of. $3,000% a bop. I would agree with Polly. He said, yes, that, thank you. Hey, no problem. No problem at all. You feel free to swing back by anytime. All right. There's not much time left in this stream, and I haven't made anything. What am I gonna make? What were the requests that came in this week? There was some requests for some ARP action, like how to make some weird, funky ARPs. Maybe we'll just do that really quick. Maybe let's stack. Oh, nice. Always nice. Oh, and there he is. What's up, Irvin? How are you? Welcome to the mix. We're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m., 1 p.m. Pacific. Surprise streams periodically. 10-minute ARP class. Okay. So a 10-minute ARP class for Polly. For those that are new, currently, in streams, you're free to just challenge me. And a lot of these challenges will result in more things for you guys to play with. So it's pretty awesome. If you ever want to submit sounds yourself that you want other people to play with in the community, or you just want me to use in a stream, you can do that as well. You can send them on through to holler@ohmlab.tv, and I will take care of the rest. All right, so some kind of cool ARP class for 10 minutes. Okay, so there's a few different ways that you can quickly start developing ARPs. And let's just take the pitch modulation inside of the synth or tool off the table for right now, right? Because a lot of people are already filling your head with ideas about that. One, don't overthink it. Try to play. And you don't need to know music theory, okay? Most DAWs now will allow you to quantize to certain things. So let's just say we're going to get a 4-bar in here. Let's just say we're going to get a like maybe an F major, or no, I mean an F minor, F sharp minor. We're going to quantize this bad boy. So we're going to put this into a brush mode, which means now everything that I touch in here cannot fail. Let's get a better sound. So we're not like feeling like we need to, I don't know, make our own sounds. Let's move away from that. All right, so the first way is manual. And you don't have to think. You just have to do, right? If you're quantizing upon input, you can't make a mistake. And you can feel like you don't know theory, and that's fine. Doesn't really matter. If you're not sure where to go with it, go completely random. And go in some kind of a rhythmic pattern. And if you deviate from it, just come back to it. And then it starts to sound intentional. Okay, so there we go. So we can quite literally just double that up. And all of a sudden, because it's quantized to a key, even if it's completely random and mostly just gibberish, it starts to come together. And if it fits the rest of your track in some magical way, then fantastic. And if it doesn't, then don't even worry about it. Just shift some of those notes around. You can quite literally just start shuffling those things. The other thing is that you can gate and do really fun, weird things with a pattern once you've made it, and it can turn it into something. You can also just start using MIDI effects to help you out, right? Let's put this through here. Right, so you put an arpeggiator on there and you tell it to start cycling through some octaves, and it's going to start doing some other things to your music, right? And what if you put like a chord trigger in there as well? And then what if you just go in here and kind of just randomly start changing the length of some of these? And maybe it's just like every other bar at first, or something like that. And what's really nice about this is that you don't have any expectations. So you don't really feel like you're screwing up at any point. Okay. And then once you start to feel like you get some kind of a groove, even if you're starting out completely random and you have no idea where any of it's going, all you have to start doing to get somewhere is taking things away, right? You just start carving things out. Let's say we're going to take out this note, and maybe we'll just stretch this one out until it meets the other one or something. And then we'll listen to this again. The other thing that's really nice about working in this workflow is that you can just simply select all and switch to something else, right? Like let's just switch to a D major really quick and see what we feel about this. And then you can start getting really weird with your timing and stuff. So now you've got a kind of a mashup between the arrangement, the pace of the arrangement, and the pace of the arpeggiator and what it's doing. So busyness plays a massive part in the success or failure of ARPs. I know lots of people that kind of play around on their keys and they're inputting stuff at this really slow pace, and then they just double the tempo of their MIDI basically and bring it up to a more acceptable level. I know other people that will create their ARPs at these very rapid paces and then slow it down by like a quarter, right? And to each their own. Everybody kind of has their own method, but what I suggest is just simply playing and getting away from what other people say works or what you felt has worked in the past, and just see if you can kind of stumble into something. You know, the happy accidents, it's a great thing to call them, but what they really are is discovery if you stop and take notice of how it actually occurred. It's just a happy accident if you go, oh, well, that ended up being really cool, and you go on about your merry way. But if you take the time to stop and kind of consider how you got there, all of a sudden you have something that you can then replicate, right? So using something like a slower rate of distribution through an arpeggiator that's running through a chord trigger at first, right, is a really neat way to come up with something. All right, let's say that you've got a couple of different arpeggiator plugins or whatever, because you have a hard time creating melodies or melodic elements. So you have a bunch of these types of tools, right? Let's see here. So let's say you're one of those people. Let's just put a couple on here. Let's put Cthulhu in here. And we'll just pick something at random in here. Let's do a I have no idea. And instead of just going for something that is programmed for you, like in a preset or whatever, hit that random button on stuff, right? You're using these tools because you're having a hard time coming up with melodic ideas. So get back into the goal of just discovery, right? And it takes the pressure off of getting something right, right? All right, so let's say we're kind of liking that. Let's stack them now. So now what we're doing is we've got just a basic pluck, right? So it would exist for like half a second on its own. We're running it through an arpeggiator, and then we're going to run that through another arpeggiator. And let's do like maybe an inversion instead of an octave shift here. Right, and when you start to strip away these layers, you can discover just how simple your original input was, right? It kind of starts to set your mind at ease about the process of coming up with interesting arps or, you know, melodic elements that make sense for your music, right? You ARP everything, says Paul. I ARP you, Paul. ARPed my ARP to get harp but got carp. That sounds like a Muppet routine right there, dude. Oh, man. Yeah, Zameritz is using stuff like this. Like these types of methods are really great because, you know, you're stacking potential, right? And when you don't have like a preconceived mode of transportation to get there, or methodology to get there, or workflow, or whatever you want to call it, then you can't really screw up and you can't really feel bad about the different results that you're getting, because all of it is through the lens of discovery. You know what I mean? Uder Nightshade, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate you being here. How you doing today? Should show him the single note trigger chords ARPing in Serum. Yeah, we can do that. Hey, carpet's always messing up my LARP. Yeah, absolutely. Transposing on the fly. Absolutely. Carp LARPers and end up in the tarp. If you hit a carp at warp speed. LARP. Oh my goodness. You guys are adding new meanings to the word LARP here. That's awesome. He never said anything too tired. Oh man. Former intern rapping in your basement. All right, what the heck? I'll click on this. What's the worst that could happen? Old stuff.
Told us T to the KYE. I'll show you people how it's done. Remove my cheese style. 25 hours a day. Aaron Mays. How I love the smell of cheese. Pepsi Jacks. every day, wandering through the halls, always trying hard to please. Yes, I try, yes, I try, yes, I try, yes, I try. Standing at your fault, you need to check out his heart. Now it's time, now it's time, now it's time, now it's time. You got 24 hours left, and it's time to do it until you're free. One to die, one to die, one to die, one to die. I gotta make my sound, we gotta keep it like that. People wanna be like that. Too many times and too many dreams. You gotta check out what I mean. 24 hours a day. No time for a kid to play. Living the life. Living the life. Living the life. Living the life. 24 hours a day. It's the job all you want. Job of life. Job of life. Job of life. Job of life. I got 20 tracks together. Just wanna let all you guys know which way you go, which way you go, which way you go, which way you go. The elevator door closes in my prison cell. Now it's time, guilty's time, guilty's time, guilty's time. I don't need to cut off the stuff, I just don't go straight to hell. Straight to hell, straight to hell, straight to hell, straight to hell. Show you what to do. Get out all the substances. Trim it out. Trim it out. Trim it out. Trim it out. Listen very close. This what you do.
Big love, Polly.
642. You're living in the dream. See what I mean? No places to be. No people to see. Just down with the TKYE. Breaking us off kind of cautiously. The people in this set, they can't even make it when they fret. You gotta work all day, so you forget to do the shopping, the homework. All that stuff makes no sense, cause that's all you get. You get so much crap. So I'm making it like that. Why I gotta be like that? You wanna see like and be like and even be like. But you can't get off this living tonight. Making so much money, well, that's a no-no. RIS, they get the go-go. 50 cents or 15 cents. Whichever way you look at it, it makes no sense. All your money goes to the government. I'm in April. See what I mean? Getting late.
Deep Harp rhymes.
Dark and light, dark and light, dark and light, dark and light. See you 25 hours a day. As you wonder where we can, you still play. End of fight, end of fight, end of fight, end of fight. One last attempt. Safely like your chains away for redemption on your toes.
Dubs, thank you. Follow, appreciate it.
On your toes. Straight from the Obi style. You're sure your next day is getting kind of wild. So it goes, so it goes, so it goes, so it goes. It's my one last terrorism. Trying to make these people get them like terrorism. It's like a freestyle style. When I drop my bass, when the bass get me wild. Now you know why I'm at an office desk. Cause I had to read that stuff to rest. But 25 hours a day, you still play. One last attempt for redemption.
Harp Latin. Harp Latin.
You still play.
Paul, this is great, dude. This is one of my favorite things that you've shared. Are we in the 90s right now? This sounds like the 90s. This is great. That's awesome that his daughter was sitting there.
You still play.
Hank Tarp, ooh, yarp.
One last attempt.
Yeah, I arp that. Arp art. That was fun, and that was a good rap. That was fun. That was a nice little journey there. Thank you, Paul. You always share good stuff. Made the track in 2002. He recorded in 2004. Yeah, I really enjoyed that too, Heidi. Absolutely. That was some good stuff. Happy accidents to the 10th power. He showed up and asked if he could do this rap. Voila. That's awesome. Udra, how are you today? Thanks for joining us. Likewise, Dubs, I'm not sure how to say this one. WBSSBW. Wubs. Narplol. Acid loops. Word. All right, so let's slow this one down. Let's do like maybe a quarter triplet this time. Another fun thing you can do, especially if you're, if you're someone that kind of has the fear of music theory, but really wants to start adding things, you really want to start adding things to the mix that will shake it up a bit and make people take notice, right? Let's just turn off our quantization here. So there's nothing popping in here, and you're not confident with the keys, so you're not gonna input it like on a keyboard, and you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah, okay. Sounds like boop, right? Let's quantize it to something. Let's say, how about a melodic minor? And sure, we'll stay in D for right now. Let's go with like a major B7, and let's go with maybe an E flat. Get something really interesting going here. So you get to this point where you're like, all right, so what part of this doesn't actually sound like garbage, right? Like this one right here, not a big fan. Let's just take it out, start over. I'm not really a fan of that one either. And you know what, maybe we just add a little note back down here. And let's just pick one of these. Because what a lot of people won't tell you, but is the truth, is that you really only need a few notes, and it really doesn't matter what order you put them in or how you arrive at finding them. The only thing that matters at the end of the day is that you like the way that it sounds in your music. And if you're approaching this from a direction that people in the know are not, then you're going to end up with something unique. And we've been talking constantly, stream after stream after stream, about why unique is important, right? I heard Damien giving some really good feedback. I think it was to Masters by Iggy, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, it was basically asking like, hey, I can hear all these different influences. What about you? And like that can feel a little bit harsh when you hear something like that, but that's also asking a really valid question. Like, I'm really digging everything that you are doing. Can I hear more of just you? And I think that a lot of people hold back in this because they don't know what they are, right? They don't know what their signature thing is, or they don't know what they have to offer, but it quite literally just comes down to doing it. You know what I'm saying? So what if we just put a little kick to this thing, right? In fact, you know what? Instead of trying to make it difficult on ourselves, what if we just ask Logic to do it for us? And let's do a I don't want a electronic. I want maybe a hip hop. All right, so let's get our notes quantized and whatnot. So it actually starts to sound kind of good. And let's just make these things snap to an eighth. All right. Let's go quarter, shuffle the results a bit more. So you see, through repetition comes perceived intention, right? Anyone that's played live music knows this. If you make a mistake and it's something that people have never heard, you're really the only person that knows that you made a mistake, unless it was like something egregious. You fell off your chair or something, right? But if it's just like a note or something, the best thing you could do if you want to save face in that moment, and it wasn't too terribly bad, is repeat it. Right. And because of that, it's now moved from, hey, what was that, to, oh, interesting decision. Right. It's this kind of creative option that you have at your disposal. Okay, so then we just take something and make it a little bit more interesting in a tool that you might be a little bit more comfortable with creatively. And you can even use presets to start getting there, right? And now actually that sounds like it's starting to turn into something, right? So discovery absolutely leads to inspiration. And then a bit of patience with yourself and trust in your knowledge of the tools that you're using. It doesn't have to be knowledge of theory. These things will slowly start to come into focus for you. And then you can just add one more thing at a time. The very first thing that I hear right now in my mind's ear when I hit play is some kind of a pad or a bass. Maybe we're just going to go right back to sculpture again. Wow. Maybe not that bass, huh? You can quite literally get as stupid or silly as you want to. Because once you start to repeat things, people feel that there is intention there. Oh, that first note is just not right, huh? I'm not used to writing in E flat major plus B7. But anyway, you guys get the idea, right? It's just like you don't even need complex ideas. More uniqueness and more funk and more inspiration is going to come out of 3 notes that you stumble into and you repeat. You're going to get ideas from that much easier than you are complex and convoluted ideas, because there's more moving parts and there's more things to consider and yada, yada, yada. So keep it really simple and stop feeling like you're doing something wrong, and stuff will start to flow. I think that's what is missing in a lot of music these days. I think it's important to keep up with what's popular from a business perspective, but a lot of music sounds like 1 or 2 artists' music just being covered by other artists. I love uniqueness. Yeah, exactly. Like when you bring up someone like, you know, Zappa or Prince or Sophie or whatever, Primus or whatever, it's this instant recognition. Like your brain is just flooded with the examples of their uniqueness. You know what I mean? Yeah, and as Paul says, if you make tension by hitting wrong notes, how you resolve is the genius. You know what I'm saying? Um, Yeah, and what Purple is saying, brainstorming too. Some of the best things come from silliness or impossible. Aphex Twin is a good example, but really think about this. When you're little, when you're young, right? Whether you're like in grade school or high school or anywhere in between, and you're doing your own thing because the parents aren't, or the adults aren't paying attention to you basically, or telling you how to do things, your stuff is great. And as soon as someone steps into the room and says, you're not doing it that the right way, everything comes crashing down. Everything falls apart. Um, yeah, Boards of Canada. Listen to jazz. Exactly. When the big, when big business ideas started hitting um, small time heroes, people like trying to help people in forums and with tutorials on YouTube or whatever, the idea of the big business model influenced them immediately, right? People were trying to figure out how to get followers, how to get people to tune in, and how to get people to click through, and how people to sit through an ad, and you know what I mean? And so now the shift, it's shifted away completely from creativity and whatnot, and it's trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to get numbers and whatnot, and it defeats the purpose, and it puts the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, right? Isn't that the joke, right? The wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable. We're taking our eyes off the prize. You got to be really, really creative and goofy, and if you don't know things at a textbook level, don't even worry about it. Start clicking and see what happens. Miles and Train and Monk and yeah, exactly. Bird and Diz. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Think of all those reclamation arts like blues and jazz and hip hop, right? Founded, forged, and driven forward by people that did not have access to the same resources in the worlds of academia, right? They just did. It's so inspiring. It's so inspiring when you can let that seep into your day to day. Well, on that note, I've got a boogie. I've got sessions this afternoon. And if anyone out there is looking for some one-on-one mentorship or whatever, it is a couple of weeks out at least right now. Just get your email into me and it'll start a conversation, and we'll get you on the books as soon as possible. And yeah, dub music with noise is another good example. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, kitty cats. I think I'm going to bounce. And I hope you all have a great weekend. thanks for spending the morning with me. I appreciate you all. I'm not even going to try, Paul. I'm not even going to try. I had a hard time with Pig Latin, so, so ARP Latin is one step beyond for me. Paulie, thank you so much, dude. Big love. And I will see you guys all on the flip. You all have a great weekend. And I appreciate you. And on that note, I'm out. Peace.